What is going on, guys? Good afternoon. Happy 2021. Yep, that is right. It is our first episode of the Sunday Spin to come in on this new year. We're super excited. And man, we have an awesome guest, our first time guest, someone I met recently in beautiful Boquete, was able to help connect on many different levels. Super excited to bring him on. And then, of course, we have a resident financial advisor that we've just been getting tons of good feedback about. So we brought him back on, and we're really excited to bring those guys on the show here in just a few minutes. Now, I wanted to reach out and just kind of mention, what the Sunday Spin is all about. Of course, being an expat, and many of the people that we bring on the show are also expats living down here in Panama and excited about living here in Panama. It's one thing to live in the States and have everything first world and fast. And then you come down to Panama where you have first world amenities, first world schooling, first world medical care, but you got the beaches, the islands, the lifestyle, and just things that make it's so magical to, have a lifestyle that we do live down here. Couple of weeks from now will be my 9th year anniversary living in Panama. Super excited about that. But before I get into the show today, I kind of wanted to go over the type of person that we typically see moving to Panama. Now, when I first came to Panama, we saw a lot more of the retirees, which are still coming down. Lots of retirees moving into Panama. About 2 to 4 years ago, we were catching a lot of the digital nomads. And they were going to places like Bocas del Toro and Pedicey and Banao and Boquete and just different naturistic areas throughout the country. But now, with the Do Panama relocation program, I'm seeing so many people reaching out that are not digital nomads per se, but people that work in the tech industry, and they don't ever have to go back to an office setting. So, they're living in San Francisco, California, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Chicago, throughout Texas, New York. You're seeing all these people leaving and going to other states. But then, there's other people out there that say, hey, why am I going to Nebraska? Or why am I going to Tennessee? Why not go down somewhere where it's great summer weather, year long, beautiful beaches, beautiful nature, tons of exciting adventures, and, a way to live a lifestyle that once you do it, you'll never go back. It's just incredible to me that I have missed this, so many years of my life. And now that I'm down here in Panama, it blows me away that more people are not living here or in another tropical location, such as Costa Rica or Colombia or across the pond in Portugal. There's a lot of great places for expats to find a different lifestyle that once you do it again, you'll just never go back. So really, really excited to be bringing these guests on. Like I said today, want to real quickly thank my sponsor, Inside Panama Real Estate. They are the sponsor of this show, and they offer a free ebook. It's a relocation ebook. It goes over everything and beyond everything that you could think of about moving to a foreign country like Panama. And best thing is, if you have been watching our show for a while and you got the ebook 2 months ago or a month ago, I got great news. There's a new ebook coming out this Monday. That's tomorrow. New ebook from Inside Panama Real Estate. Bunch of updates on that. So if you already emailed and got the old ebook, don't worry. Mike's going to be sending out ebooks, this new ebook, to everybody that already emailed us in the past. But if you'd like to get that ebook, you haven't even heard about us. Again, this is a Sunday Spin. We're all about reaching out and talking with members of our community just to give you guys an experience, whether you're in the US or in Europe or in Canada or anywhere else in the world, and you're looking at Panama as a possible new home. Got to say hi to my friends over in South Africa. We have a lot of South Africans reaching out right now also about the Do Panama relocation program. And real quick, I got to finish, though, with my sponsor. If you guys want that free ebook, it's super simple to get. Just email free ebook at ipreinfo.com. That's free ebook at ipreinfo.com. That info is also in the text of this video. So I'm going to play a quick 60-second, one of my favorite videos of Panama. And when I come back, we are going to have my first guest today. That's right, Mr. Phillips with God Loves Kids. This is an incredible philanthropic gentleman that I'm super excited to bring on. He's a newbie here in Panama and just has a great story to tell. So we're going to watch this quick intro and we'll be back with Phil Phillips in just a second. All right, guys, I'd like to welcome my first guest to the show today, Mr. Phil Phillips from Texas in the United States of America. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing to this day?
Well, it's a pleasure being here, but I'm not from Texas anymore.
Oh, are you switching the zip code already on us? Are you? I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
This is a permanent move for us, and as we open up our international headquarters here. And I bought a home, bought a farm, and bought a car in 3 weeks.
Oh, man, I love it. And you know what? I think we got to tell people because our story of how we became friends is super unique. It's interesting. It's fun. So I'm going to start the story, and then I'm going to pass the ball to Phil.
Okay.
So we had just finished this current edition of the Restaurant and Travel magazine. I was on my way throughout the country. I stopped at one of our advertisers, one of my favorite restaurants in Boquete, Panama. Now, Boquete is in the western part of Panama. That's where the coffee is grown, all the vegetables are grown. That's where the only place in the world where you can see both the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. It's right here in Panama, and that's the best place to do it from in Boquete. So I'm in Boquete. I roll in. I go to Sugar and Spice, and I hear a gentleman say, "Hey, you're the guy from YouTube." So I'm going to pass the ball to Phil, and let's continue the story because this is really cool how we were able to connect in that coffee shop.
Yeah, and of course, that's not where the story begins. The story begins me stuck in the home watching Panamanian videos and videos from Panama and watching you for weeks and weeks and weeks as we were on lockdown in Texas. And it started out to be just 10 days, and then it kept extending and kept extending. And then I tried to come to Panama twice, and those things got canceled. And we actually were planning to come here a couple of years from now, in 2022, 23. And a hotel that we had stayed at in Boquete came up for sale. And I was talking to some of my advisors, and they were like, "Dude, why don't you just go for it? Why don't you do it now? You know, what are you waiting for?" And so we shot down here the minute the country opened, made an offer on the hotel. The offer was rejected. It was, I thought, a very good offer, but it was rejected. And just before I found out it was rejected, I walked into Sugar and Spice. I'd never been there before, but I'd heard about it because of shows like yours. And I was like, I had a whole crew with me, and I saw you behind your mask, but you had your camera up, and I was like, "Hey, I know you, and you know me." And so I offered to buy you breakfast, and you were like, "Well, where are you staying?" And we were staying at the hotels right next to each other. Wound up having breakfast the next day, and by that time I knew my offer had been rejected, and I was expressing some frustrations I had with one of the other real estate companies in the area. And you said, "Well, look, if you," and I was saying that eventually I'd like to buy a farm. And here's why I want to buy a farm. I want to feed a lot of people. We feed 1,000 people a day as it is, but I want to feed a lot of needy kids with our farm. And so you said, "Man, I saw a farm." And so you were like, "Mike's in town." Mike doesn't live in Boquete, but he's in town. And so you should meet him. And you made the phone call, and the rest that we're going to be talking about is kind of history. But in one day, I saw a house that wasn't for sale and decided to buy it. And a few days later, I went to see this magical farm.
Oh my gosh, right?
In a farm the day before, and it was nothing compared to what we were taken to see. And I will say this about Mike is that he never oversold anything.
He's very good about that, and that's not typical in real estate.
Right. He was a very straightforward, very straight shooter, and nothing he said actually really reached the level of the reality of the property. Now, I'd just seen a home that looked gorgeous on pictures, looked gorgeous on the internet, and when I got there, it looked like something out of the Addams Family. It had not been taken care of a couple of years. The pool was drained and there were cracks. I was like, man, if you want to advertise this as a fixer-upper, that's great, but don't waste my time showing me some pictures from 5 years ago. Well, that wasn't Mike's website.
Well, and that's exactly why I do what I do. You know, with the Do Panama Relocation Program, exactly what you just said is my goal is to avoid people falling into that same trap. You know, like I see it all the time as someone on the front side. You know, I'm helping a lot of these companies and businesses advertise and do their marketing campaigns. And, you know, you see something on the internet and you get there and you're like, wait a minute, come on, guys. You know, if you oversell it or you misrepresent it, it's not going to work out. You're not going to sell it at all. So like you mentioned in that breakfast, you said, hey, man, I want someone that's upfront, straightforward, and I'm looking for a farm. And I'm like, man, I know there's this organic farm. Mike's got the connection. Let me get Mike down here. So I'm glad that all worked out. We want to definitely welcome you to the community. You're a very amazing human being. I've done a lot of research since that breakfast and just seeing like what your foundation does, which we're going to talk a lot more about here into the show. But first, I want to find out, you know, because again, you're an intelligent guy. Were you looking at other places besides Panama before choosing Panama?
Well, I'd lived in Costa Rica for almost 3 years and did some work with the United Nations and the Catholic Family Union down there. I was very comfortable with Costa Rica. And I went to Costa Rica to visit who I call my African son, who was graduating from Earth University with a degree in ag science and marketing. And so when I went down there, I really took my wife to see all the beautiful places in Costa Rica with the idea of maybe this is where we want to go. One of the issues that led us to this direction was my mom eventually is going to need full-time care. And I didn't want to put her in a nursing home. And with COVID, there's a good example why not put someone in a nursing home. But we're family, and I didn't want that kind of environment. I didn't want, if I could at all avoid it. And we'd had this conversation for years that a good way to handle this would be for us to move to Central America and use that differentiation in the salaries and the cost of things to provide full-time nursing in-house. Yes. And so what we wound up doing is we're selling 2 homes and buying a big one. And so we're very happy with the decision we made, and she's happy, and we're going to see a wonderful, time for her to just kind of relax and retire. And so, when we came directly from that trip to Panama, and I wasn't in Panama 30 minutes, and I started to feel like, this has a lot of potential. And I love the fact that you have the best of both worlds. What you were talking about earlier in the show is that you have this first world experience and you have access to things, and you're in the shipping capital of the world, and there's an energy here, and there's high-speed internet and things going on. Not that it always works perfectly, I'm not saying that, but there is a phenomenal amount of resources, and including the Panamanians themselves, which are beautiful people who are some of the sweetest people that I've ever met. And we've really enjoyed making connections, and I look forward to immersing myself in the culture. But I saw Panama as a strategic location for an international headquarters, that we could bring people in that we couldn't get into the States for whatever reason, that we could fly in and out easily to places not like the United States. We could fly to Europe, we could fly to Asia, we could fly to Africa from here. And that was an important thing. If I were located in Costa Rica and I wanted to fly to those places, I'd have to fly here to go there. And so I cut out that middle journey each and every time, which becomes tedious if you travel a lot. And eventually, we're going to get back to normal and have travel in the world again as we've had it in the past. And so it just made sense. It ticked off a lot of boxes. And whether you come as kind of that digital nomad, or you're wanting the tiny house experience, and you're wanting more of a build a community that way, or you come like we did, needing infrastructure, needing things to move along a little bit at a pace a little higher level, then Panama offers both. I mean, you can get as rural as you want to go, and you can, I love the fact that we live in Boquete, but at any given moment for $80, I can climb on a plane, fly to Panama, and enjoy the restaurants, enjoy the nightlife, enjoy the shopping. And we like to stay at the Intercontinental, and the staff there is wonderful. I have tons of points with them, and it's just a nice experience. As I travel some places, we don't look for the cheapest hotel. We look for the safest hotel, like San Pedro Sula. And so the Intercontinental provides that safety everywhere we go. And the most expensive hotel in the world is the one that steals your $3,000 laptop. And so you don't get that. You have to balance things, and that's what I'm saying. Panama really achieves a balance for us in so many areas, and so we're excited about that, because we do have to do multiple things in multiple ways.
Well, and I like that you said that, because I think that a lot of people just don't understand that, whether you're flying or driving, I'm in Panama City right now, you're in Boquete, like you said, it's a 45, 50-minute flight from, you got to drive down the mountain from Boquete to David, which is the second largest city in Panama. It's a 45-minute drive down there. You get on an airplane, you can fly to Panama City, and then, of course, Panama City, Tucumán Airport is the hub of the Americas. Like you mentioned, you can fly to anywhere in Europe, anywhere in South America, all over the United States, Canada. You have just a massive hub for travel. And, I was surprised. When I first flew into Panama City, I was blown away. I was like, wait a second, did we fly the wrong way? Because I feel like we're in Chicago. It's just it's mind-blowing, It's really huge city. And it's I'm a city boy. I like the city life. I also like the nature. And again, whether you're flying or driving, the drive from where Phil is right now in Boquete to Panama City, we're talking, 5.5, 6.5 hours, depending on your driving style, how many times you stop. But it's just, everything is so close to each other.
And I will say that 5 hours, is a 5 hours spent on nicely paved roads, and you can find places to eat, you can find things to do along the way for sure. And I remember this week I hit you up and said, hey, Austin, how's it going? He said, well, I'm hiking with my son and I just passed this slough. And so you send me this, you're living in a city, but you have access to a hiking trail where there's a slough for your child to experience. I think that's extremely valuable. I mean, in fact, give me a second, if you don't mind. I'm going to give this a try and see what we have here. This is the view from my balcony.
It's incredible.
See that? I don't know.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it, and it's amazing.
And right over there is one of the world's best golf courses called Lucero. And I've just fallen in love with this place, and I'm looking forward to my kitchen being finished and having coffee out every morning on the new balcony that we're building. And so, like I said, we're selling 2 homes and bought 1, but the 2 homes we sold don't have this type of view.
No. And those are in Texas, correct?
Those were in Texas. In fact, my wife sent me the picture of what she was looking at from the Intercontinental one night. And I sent her back the view outside of our window with our little subdivision track tree and the little backyard, postage stamp backyard, and grass. And in Texas, you have to beg things to grow. And here is one of the most organically rich soils in the world. In fact, one of the beauties of our farm is that we're looking at 3.5 feet of topsoil, which is unheard of. Even in Panama, you're talking an average of 1 to 3 inches of volcanic topsoil. That farm has 3.5 feet of topsoil on it. We're going to be able to grow hundreds of thousands of pounds of food on that farm.
Well, and now that you're speaking again about the farm, and I thank you for showing us that view, because I want people to know, like, it's gorgeous here. But yeah, I want to jump into the farm, but more so, before we do that, let's talk about God Loves Children. Tell us about this foundation and what God Loves Children does in the world.
God Loves Kids is...
sorry. Gosh darn it. God Loves Kids.
It's a nonprofit organization that was started 45 years ago. It was started by my mom, actually. I kind of felt like my mom and dad were early adapters to what we're seeing in 20-somethings today, wanting to be involved, wanting to be activated, wanting to do something positive in the world, helping others around the world. Well, my parents were that way, back in the 70s. And so my mom and dad were in Calcutta, India. It was my mom's first time, but my dad had been several times. And Calcutta, India at the time was a city the size of the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, had about 9 million people living in it and not one traffic light. They were only the roundabouts, and India always had just one kind of car, and they had these horns with the bulbs on the side of it, and they'd have 4 or 5, and each one meant something different. And the fixer that was with them and the driver looked at them and said, "We're about to go through the slums of Calcutta. You cannot feed the children. You cannot give them anything. If you do, we will be stopped and we'll never make it out. And besides, the handler is going to get that money." And so my parents were going through these slums, and the children were mobbing against the car, and they were going bashish, bashish, bread, bread. And finally, one little boy, when he realized that my parents weren't going to do anything because they were really being sat on by the driver and the fixer that were with them, stuck a nub of his arm. His arm had intentionally been cut off to make him a better beggar. He stuck that elbow into my dad's face, and he said in perfect English, "Love me, mister, love me." And at that point, my mom went back and just said, we've heard the cry of the world. There's a need out there to help these children. They're living on top of a garbage dump, and they're searching the garbage dump for food with wire hangers. What can we do? And the association that they were working with was relatively new at the time. By the time the man who started it died, he had more people at his funeral than Mother Teresa. In fact, this particular organization that we worked with for 40 years buys more rice than any other organization or any other company in India besides the Indian Army. They're the second largest purchaser of rice in the nation. They feed thousands of people every day. Wow. But I never, we feed kids, and we've had as many as 6,000 children. Now we have about 1,000. We feed people every day in our organization, but we normally buy food every 3 or 4 days. That's it. Every 3 or 4 days we buy food, we feed food, and we buy more. And I was coming back from Africa in January or early February, and I reached Amsterdam, and they wanted to see my passport. They wanted to see if I'd been to China. And I knew something was going on. I didn't know what at the time. There's this virus is what they were saying. I wasn't sure about what was happening. And so very quickly I became aware that we needed to stock up on food in our locations. Now, me personally, I had 2 years worth of freeze-dried food in my home because I knew that there's a fragility in the supply chain, and particularly in America, but all over the world, there's a fragility in the supply chain. So you need to have some supply of basics. When everybody was rushing out to buy toilet paper, I didn't have to buy any. I already had it. And so I've seen the world. I've been to 90-something countries, and I know what goes on. And so I wanted our locations to have some level of security. So very quickly we raised the money and we bought 30 days worth of food. And then I get this message back, our people are starting to go hungry in Lutembe, Uganda. And Lutembe, Uganda is one of the communities that we really feel connected to. Other places we have outreaches like Nepal, we have a home that has rescued girls from sex trafficking since the year 2000. So that's over 20 years of efforts that we've had in Nepal. Just built a $500,000 home in Nepal for those girls that are about to move in. And that was a 4 or 5 year process to do that. But I don't feel connected to that community. But we do feel connected in Lutembe, Uganda. We have a school there, a new campus there. We had just opened the school. And so the directors there are saying, including Alex, our African son, was saying, our people are going to starve. And so we bought 150 families 2 weeks worth of groceries. And then about a week into that, I got another message saying, look, they've shut everything down. And there was this video of this lady who was cooking banana peels for her and her children for their last meal. This was going to be the last meal that they ate, was cooked banana peels, not bananas, banana peels. And so can you help us? And so I put the word out. And long story short, over the course of 2020, we're a small organization, but we bought between 60 and 80,000 pounds of food that we distributed. We're not a relief organization typically. And that food prevented people from starving to death. But along the way, we put in a new greenhouse at our campus. We put in an aquaponics project at our campus. We established a vertical garden so we could teach people how to do a vertical garden, that you can have 800 plants and 30 square feet or meters along a wall. You don't have to have a special deal. You can use recycled plastic bottles. And this is a very easy way to do this. And we realized that Lutembe itself was a food desert, that they had a couple of small stores that sold basically junk food and beer and sodas, and that was it. And otherwise, if the people weren't growing on their own food, there was no food for sale. So we set out to do micro farms, rabbit hutches, and moringa trees. And so we established 500 new seedlings of moringa trees. We started putting out rabbit hutches. By the way, those rabbit hutches are doing what rabbit hutches do. They're producing more rabbits. And with each rabbit litter born, we're requiring one rabbit be given back to us. And that way we want to create self-sustainability in everything we do. Because we're not about creating welfare. And so we wanted to turn Lutembe, Uganda into a food forest, not a food desert. So if this ever happened again, that the people could share the production of their hand and have food to eat and never starve to death again.
Well, that is incredible. And so with the farm that you just purchased in Boquete, Panama, is God Loves Kids coming to Boquete, Panama? I know you said the operations and the management level of the company will be, or the foundation, but will you be helping those in need here in Panama as well with that?
Yes, in fact, we live in Boquete, Panama, but the farm is in Santa Marta, okay, which is about 7 miles from the Costa Rican border. You go to David and then you go up to Bugaba. And excuse me if I mess up these names. I've really only lived here for 2 weeks. Okay,
you got them great, Bugaba. You're like, I hear a lot of other people really mess that name up. So good job.
But Santa Marta is a beautiful area for farming, and particularly this one farm. And we're excited about it. We have almost unlimited resources of water. The farm is at this point only used about 18% of the way. As far as our organization goes, we're moving a majority of the organization to Panama, and we will be helping Panama. I'm actually looking for orphanages and places that deal with needy children right now that we can partner with them. I don't need to build another orphanage or another school or anything else in Panama. What we're going to do is take this farm and we're going to make it a buy one, give one farm. So Santa Marta Farms is going to be transformed into Tom's Shoes of farming. You buy a pound of food for your family, we ship it to you, and we're going to give a pound of food to a needy child. And we're going to do that free of charge. And so it eliminates something that is a limitation to most farm to market farms, in that they only want to produce enough food that they can sell that week. And it makes sense. I don't want to waste my time, energy, efforts, and money producing food that cannot be eaten. But with a dehydrator and eventually a freeze dryer will allow us to bank food for up to 25 years.
25 years?
Yeah. We can take food and take 250 pounds of kale, reduce it to 55 pounds of kale powder that can be added to foods, added to soups, has the same nutrition, same way with moringa. We can do that and create superfoods. We want to create some value added programs. So if you go to Santa Marta Farms, you go to a website right now, you're going to see the website, and you'll see some changes over the next few years where we add ducks and we add rabbit and we add edible snails, and we do some things for the restaurant industry, and we do, we're going to slowly take this thing on. And what happens if we overproduce? Well, we either feed it to the animals if we need to, or we freeze dry it or dehydrate it and we give it to needy children. I want to produce hundreds of thousands of pounds of food on that farm, not the way it is now, which was perfect. Ron and his wife did an awesome job developing this farm. They laid a tremendous foundation. They've saved me a tremendous amount of time and effort with the work that they've done on the farm. It is certified organic, which is about a 4-year process to become. There are very few actually certified organic farms in Panama. So we look forward to providing the best food, the freshest food. We're going to raise animals for protein on that farm, but we're going to raise them in the healthiest, friendliest, most loving way. That animal should be as happy as he possibly can be until the day he makes the ultimate sacrifice and becomes protein. And so, our goal is to have non-GMO seeds going into the ground. We're not going to be using any non-organic pesticides or fertilizers. We want even maybe to develop some organic farm products for other farmers to use that we can sell, make it easier to get liquid seaweed, easier to get some other things that will for foliar feeds. We also want to conduct classes. Like I said, we have our young man from Uganda. His name is Alex Keeney. He has a degree from Earth University. He speaks fluent Spanish. I plan to bring him here as often as possible to conduct seminars for local farmers on how to do organic gardening. We are going to be a positive impact in Panama to the best of our ability. Please forgive us that we're just starting, we're just beginning. We have 45 years of experience, but we're also beginners in this country. And so, I'm amazed sometimes at the level of sometimes negativity for people who are trying to do something positive in a nation. But we're here to make a positive impact, and we desire to do that in the greatest way possible. And so your comments, people's suggestions, if they want to come visit the farm someday, we're actually looking at putting some tree houses in our farm for people to stay at, and maybe a conference center if they wanted to have a conference at an organic farm and have farm to table food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to do that eventually, and we'll be working very quickly toward that. So when I say eventually, I don't mean 10 or 20 years from now. So it's going to be an exciting time. During the winter, during rainy season, which was the first time I saw the farm, there were 3 incredible waterfalls that you could see on the other side of the river. The river's about 40 feet wide. There's 3 swimming holes in the river. There are howler monkeys across from the river, and the farm is naturally terraced so that there are some areas of the farm that are not plantable, but we can build tree houses there. And so we plan to build a girls' dorm, a men's dorm, a centralized shower area, centralized eating and meeting area, all in tree houses if we can, and then some very special tree houses for people who want to rent them when we're not using them for our conferences or whatever that we're doing. So really want to turn it into an eco resort, farm to table, experience for somebody who wants to come to Panama, hang out in someplace rural and with beautiful views, and it's just a magical place.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because I think it was a few days ago, right after Christmas, I was reading an article about this new type of tourism that is based on philanthropical work. Instead of just going and laying in the sun or going zip lining, you do all those fun things, but take 10 days, and the reward you get, because going on vacation is all about rewarding your body, your soul, your mind with positive influences. So yes, getting a suntan and meeting some fun people on the beach and having a good time is awesome, and it does that. But there's just such a high reward for going and assisting a community that maybe needs some help. We had a gentleman on, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Gregory Clark. He had worked with Global Brigades, and they were doing something similar, bringing college kids down, which is just really neat, because there is something there for that type of tourism. And I think that since we've gone through this incredibly crazy pandemic that has changed all of our minds, all of our outlooks, you're going to see a lot more people being interested in those types of things. And, that's one thing that I think that would be super awesome to see in your on your farm.
And I will say this, just to let people know, the farm was expensive. It's not a cheap farm, but our organization has bought and sold pieces of real estate over the years. So when you come to the farm, you'll know that there are really no donated dollars were used to purchase the farm. All it was real estate transactions that brought us to the place where we could buy that farm. Yes, we will need donations. We'll need a dehydrator. We'll need to put on some different infrastructures and things like that. And there will be people donating, and also there'll be people donating just for us to provide food to people. And the exciting part for me is that I would like to have eventually 3, 4, maybe 5 of these farms throughout Panama, and really use it as a staging place to feed the world in emergency situations and famine and that type of thing, that we could ship out food. We can't afford to buy food as a nonprofit at retail or wholesale and give it away for free. So we had to insert ourselves in the food system and the food chain. And this is our first step into mastering this plan of being in the food chain in a real way and being able to provide food without it costing us thousands and thousands of dollars.
Of course. Now, if someone wanted to get more information, or they are interested in either donating or volunteering, or somehow just wanting to buy food as your, buy a pound, give a pound away program, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, they'll notice a change on the Finca Santa Marta website probably as early as next month, as we take possession of it, and they'll be able to buy their food from us, and we'll immediately start the buy one, give one program. We'll be looking for partners here in Panama. Our primary focus is if the purchase comes from Panama, the food that we give away should stay in Panama. So you're helping local needy children if you're buying local. So you're going to get that organic food for your table, and you're going to be providing organic food for a needy child. If they want to know more about our organization, they can go to neediestchild.org, or they can go, more importantly, they can go to godloveskids.org, and godloveskids.org, and that will give them some background information. We are also on Facebook. In fact, most of our communication about our organization takes place on Facebook. It's been something that we've been moving toward, and other social media backgrounds. So look for us on social media, godloveskids.org. We have a YouTube channel, GLK TV, on YouTube, and please check us out. We're very committed to doing the right thing for the right reasons, and always doing what we say we're going to do.
I love it. Well, I really appreciate your time, Mr. Phillips. It's our friendship's already grown very strong, and I'm very happy to have you and your wife and your family in the community. I can't wait to get out to Boquete here in the next, month, I hope. And can't wait to see the farm. I really appreciate your time today.
And I'm coming to Panama City soon. Let's hit the Wallace.
Oh man, the Wallace. Yeah, if you guys haven't been to the Wallace, you're gonna have to check out the Wallace. Those Scotch eggs and those fish and chips. My goodness.
Place. One of many.
Yes, sir.
You're cool, Austin. You really are.
Well, thank you. And remember, guys, this show is being sponsored by Inside Panama Real Estate. If you want to get that free relocation ebook, just email free ebook at ipreinfo.com. Also, dopanama.com. It's all about the community. It's a community website where you can share articles. You can put your business on for free if you have a business here in Panama. And you can just read and read and read. There's so much great information on this website. And of course, it's all in support of our Do Panama Relocation Program, which is run by me and my team. And we are just incredibly excited to be helping people move here at ease with working with excellent people and just finding the right path. You know, it's nothing worse than getting ripped off when you come to a foreign country, and it's so easy for people to do. I've seen it so often, and that's why we really wanted to get involved with this Do Panama Relocation Program. So if you're thinking about moving to Panama, email me, austin@dopanama.com, and I got a 23 question, where should I live questionnaire that helps. It's fun, helps you find out what part of Panama would probably be best for you to check out when you come here to visit Panama. So we give that questionnaire for free. And obviously, at that same time, I can email you information about our Do Panama Relocation Program. Again, a huge thank to Phil Phillips. Coming up next, we're going to watch a quick video, another beautiful video from inside Panama. But this is about Boquete. You're going to see some beautiful shots of Boquete. And then right after that, we got Charles Burrows with Empire Consulting Group coming on to give us a little information about investing in the markets right now. Again, thank you so much, Phil Phillips. Guys, we'll be right back in just a second with Mr. Charles Burrows. All right. Welcome to the show, Mr. Charles Burrows with Empire Consulting Group. How you doing today, my friend? Happy Sunday.
I'm great, Austin. How are you doing? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you great. Thank you.
New Year in Panama City.
Well, it was a beautiful morning. We got the kiddie pool out. My kid was splashing. I think we had about earlier this afternoon, we had about 7 minutes and 57 seconds of rain, and now the sun's back out. I love when people say the rainy season. It's like, yeah, that whole 8 minutes a day of rain, better watch out. I see you got some beautiful weather out there in the beach towns as well. And
every day, it's for an English guy to enjoy it when it rains, you're living a good life, right? People, what happens here is that if it rains, people don't want to have a barbecue or get together, and that's like on one random day every now and then. And I say, well, listen, English guys, if you don't do things when it rains, you don't do things, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Rain almost every day back home.
Oh man, and I'm from the Northwest, so I think we're like on the same parallel, so I get you, I feel you, and yeah, rain down in Panama when it does rain. And again, we're going into our summer dry season right now, which is January through the end of April. So if you're thinking about coming to Panama, if you're one of those people out there that are like, man, what kind of person moves to Panama? Well, again, like I said in the beginning of the show, we see a lot of retirees. This has always been a real hot spot for retirees. And then about 2-4 years ago, we saw a big influx of digital nomads coming to Panama. But then now with all that's going on in the world, this crazy COVID, you see what's going on in the U.S. politics, like, oh my gosh, make your head spin, and there's a lot of far right and there's a lot of far left people, and yes, okay, I get it, but there's probably about 70% of the people that are like me, right in the middle, that could care less about who the United States president is. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to enjoy life, but you don't want to get caught in the crossfire. And I don't know about you, but it looks like there's going to be some crossfire in the United States. Holy heck, things are getting a little crazy up there. So if you're thinking about moving to Panama, please reach out. I love helping people, and I would love to help you. Now, Charles, you have a whole different way of helping people. And, we've had you on the last couple episodes of the show. And today, I've been learning a lot through this program, which is awesome. I hope other people are learning as much as I am. Now, I want to briefly go back. Last week we were talking about the magic number and the importance of your magic number and how each person has their individual magic number. Can we kind of go over that a little bit real quick?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think it's important that, before we talk about anything, and before anyone makes any kind of decisions about investing or what they should be doing, they need to know their magic number. And what is the magic number? The magic number is exactly how much do they need to get in investment return to achieve their goals. And if you know that, then it avoids you taking unnecessary risks. And it also means that you will know what you need to do to get where you want to be at a certain point in time. And if you're not achieving it, you're going to know what you need to do, or what the consequences of that will be. Maybe it means rather than retiring at 55, if you've underperformed, you're going to retire at 57 or 58. But if you don't know it, essentially you're just
shooting in the wind.
So you need to. I mean, the knowing your number is the most important thing, because then you've got your starting point, and that's when you can really assess whether you're being successful or not, or whether you need to change your strategies, or whether you need to be more aggressive, or you can afford to be less aggressive. So knowing your number is extremely important. So what I'll do, like last week, is I'll share my screen with you, and we can just go over a couple of the concepts and talk about not only knowing how important it is to know your number, but how can you get that? Because a lot of people today are really struggling with, where do I invest my money? What do I do with it? You've got interest rates that are on the floor. You've got a stock market which is ridiculously high, an all-time record high, but the economy is nowhere near being anywhere near all-time record healthy. So we're in a
and I'm no rocket scientist. I'm no rocket scientist, but that just doesn't make a lot of sense. It almost feels like there could be what do you call that? A pop? Like it's just incredible.
Well, the thing is like this, right? Nobody knows. No one can say for sure whether there's going to be a crash or whether it's just going to keep on going on like this. I mean, I've worked in the market for 20 years. I know a lot about the markets. I do very well with investing. But, over the years, what I've realized is how important it is to be able to detach, right? And not to be so important for you. So how can you achieve your financial goals without it having an emotional effect, without you having to research what's going on with every single stock, to be worried, trying to second guess an economy that doesn't make sense? And a lot of people don't quantify the stress and the emotional impacts that have. And I through the years, I've had a lot of clients that like to trade their own portfolios, and they have a lot of fun doing it until a certain point in time where the market crashes on them or they get it wrong, and then they don't really know what to do. And then they're stressed because suddenly they've lost a significant amount of money, and then they have to decide, okay, do I take even bigger risk now? Do I take the loss? Do I have to sit on it? But I can tell you one thing, I mean, from personal experience and from the experience of my investors, from their experiences, is that let's imagine that it was Christmas right now and we were at like the bottom of the COVID situation. Well, there'd be a lot of people having a very unhappy Christmas, regardless, with all their friends and family around them. If their portfolio is down 30 or 40%, it's very difficult for them to get excited because in the back of their mind, they've got this heavy weight and this heavy burden. So one of the things I want to talk about today is not only about how can you achieve your number, how can you improve the returns on your investment, but how can you do it in a way that you are taking the stress out of the management and the volatility of the market, and basically just not having to worry about it, right? Just to making it the easiest possible way for you to achieve those returns. And a lot of that is about really not being greedy and not really trying to trying to get too much return. I mean, a lot of people look at the stock market and say, oh, the stock market grows sometimes 15, 20, 30%. Certain stocks have gone up 100%. I want a piece of that. But unfortunately, if you do want a piece of that, then you're asking for what comes with it, which is volatility, which is the downside, the potential risks. And most people, especially the people I think that be watching this right now, they're probably in a stage of their lives where they are contemplating moving to Panama or relocating somewhere maybe outside of the States or outside of Europe. And they, one of the big questions comes is, do I have enough money to do what I need to do to live the lifestyle I want to live? And obviously by moving to a country like Panama, where you can buy things a lot cheaper, certain fantastic properties can be a lot cheaper, certain things within your lifestyle can be so much cheaper, but it's how can I generate that income? And if you can increase the performance on your investment, well, that's a huge step towards your financial independency. And a lot of people will find that, a lot of people have, let's say, $500,000, $300,000, $1 million right now, but they can't put it in safe investments because if they do, it won't give them enough income to be able to retire. So what I like to try and do is show people the way that they can actually invest their money in a low risk way or in a defensive way that will allow them to have the income that they need. And so they can sit back and enjoy their retirement maybe 5, 10, 15 years earlier than they expected to do that.
Awesome. Well, let's break into this. Are you ready to share your screen? Because I'd like to, I like this education that you give us. All right, I'm gonna add you here.
So I try and break it up. Okay, right. So can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I just want to start off with one thing, right, which is basically where the market is, to have a bit of perspective. So, we've come from the last crisis in 2008 into this gigantic bull market, but it's not really sustainable with the way the economy is right now. So it's very likely over the next few months and years that we could see a lot of volatility without any real growth as the economy really starts to catch back up, as employment gets back together, supply chains start to improve. I mean, just look at the world. People aren't flying. People aren't going out to the restaurants. So there's no way the economy can be as strong or even stronger than it was this time last year. But the stock market says that there is. The only reason, in my opinion, that we're here is because interest rates are so low and money's being printed like crazy. You've got this kind of artificial, it's kind of like going to the gym and taking loads of steroids. Yeah, you can get really, really strong, but you've got to keep on taking those steroids and they will kill you if you keep on taking them. Or if you stop, then you might get really fat and lethargic and not be able to carry on at that pace. So we're a little bit ahead of ourselves in terms of the market. And it's very, very scary right now because what I see right now is a lot of retail investors that don't know what they're doing, having a lot of free time on their hands and playing in the markets. And I'll give you some examples of this. And these are kind of bell ringers to alarm you that things aren't quite right. So I'll give you an example. Let's take a company most people know, Hertz. If you've ever rented a car, if you've been on holiday and rented a car, you've probably seen Hertz. Hertz was one of the biggest car rental companies in the world. About a couple of years ago, they had a few financial difficulties. They needed to go through restructuring. One of the world's biggest activist investors, Carl Icahn, put in $2 billion into the company. It was going really, really good. Everything was going well. And then COVID hit. And obviously no one was traveling, no one's rented cars, and they still had this big debt burden. So essentially COVID killed Hertz. It basically made them bankrupt. They went from almost $20 a share down to $1 a share. But what had started to happen in COVID was a really bizarre thing. Whenever a stock got to $1, there was a mentality in the market from all these millions of retail investors playing in the market. And they said, oh, Hertz, I know that name. And it's $1. $1 is cheap. Let's buy it. However, if you just read the news from the statements of Hertz, they were telling people, we are definitely going bankrupt. We've got $600 billion worth of debt. And we've only got $4 billion worth of assets, so we are going bankrupt. But as soon as we get down to around $1 a share, what happens to the Hertz price? It rockets up 301%. This is in the middle of COVID, right, where nothing good is happening right now, and the company has announced it's gone bankrupt, yet the stock goes up 300%. And lo and behold, what happens? Well, the smart money comes in, sells off all those shares, and whoever's holding it thinking there's going to be a recovery or didn't get out is getting screwed. it comes back down again. And what happens again? We come down to $1 a share, and the same thing happens. Hertz actually came out and made an announcement. They went up 145% in a day because they came down below $1 a share. And Hertz came out and made an announcement. They said, stop buying our shares. We are definitely going bankrupt. And this happened again and again and again. And the thing is this isn't the only example. I can show multiple examples of this. Let me give you another example, which a lot of people will have seen as well, which was Kodak. So Kodak, not sure if you remember what happened, but President Trump came out and said that he was annoyed with the Chinese about them having the production of all prime materials that went into drugs. And so he wanted an American company to be doing that, so they weren't dependent on China. Obviously, Kodak, from the years when they were making like film and cameras and things like this, was back in the day, they were doing very well. But since then, they're basically, gone down to what, like 5% of their former sales. As soon as Trump makes this announcement, the stock price of Kodak goes from $2 a share up over 1,000% to $22 a share in a couple of days. And why did it do that? It went past its previous all-time highs. Let me just see. I think I might have the wrong ticker here. Kodak. Yeah. Yeah, correct. So the stock goes up, over 1,000%, but the company hasn't done anything. There's just been one statement in the press by Trump, and this is just a sign of retail investors. I mean, and still Kodak hasn't really done anything, right? So it goes up 1,000%, and then suddenly straight away it drops back down like 50, 60% of its value. So what this shows us, and this happens time and time again. I'll show you a stock. I actually wrote on LinkedIn about buying this stock, but I was overwhelmed with what happened to it. This is a stock that's involved in quantum computing. I won't waste your time talking about what quantum computing is, but I'll just give you the example of what happened to it and what's driving the market. So I've recommended that people buy this stock because quantum computing is the future of computing. It's there on my LinkedIn if anyone wants to go and see the proof that I told to buy around $3 a share. The stock went up in a day 102%, which in this case is okay, but it is a lot of speculation. But what's happening right now? People are waking up, looking on their phones, and they see a stock that's gone up 100%, and they say, "Oh, I want a piece of that," and then they're all jumping in, and then the next day it goes up another 100%, and everyone else looks at their phone and say, "Oh, I want a piece of that." So you've got all of this kind of. There's no reason behind why these stocks are going up 100, 200, 300%. But it's completely unsustainable, and they come straight back down again. So you see this one went up, 244% in a day. It's a good stock to own, but I wouldn't be buying it at 16 when I could have bought it at 3. But a lot of people sit at 16 and say, I want to buy that because they believe it's just going to keep on running up. So the problem is what I'm trying to say with all of this is these are warning signs. This doesn't happen in a normal market, and a lot of the movement of the market is being driven by people that don't really know what they're doing, that are speculating. And the worst thing is, a lot of them are getting good results right now because it's kind of like the herd mentality. The money's going behind the money and it's driving the market up. But if you keep on selecting investments based on that kind of strategy, you are going to get destroyed in the market. The market is way smarter than that kind of strategy. The market will always take the money back. So what comes to the problem with investing, essentially, and this is what I want to get to, is there's a lot of stress, like I said before. There's a lot of, if you're going to do it, it's a full-time job. However, there is a way where people can get their money out of the market. A lot of people will be sitting on great profits right now because, like I said, the market's at an all-time high, and they could capitalize those profits and bank them and generate returns of 8, 9, 10, 12, 14%, and still be protected against the drop in the market of 30, 40, or 50%. And that's one of the things that we are big advocates of right now. It's called auto-callable dividend income notes, okay? And we design, we're like architects. So we design these products, but they're not our products. I'm not trying to sell you Empire's products. We can just design products for clients. They'd be issued by JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch, UBS, So the client essentially has no risk of empire, but we can understand their profile, understand what they like. We can look at the market, see what's good, what's not so good, and say, okay, well, this would make a good investment right now, and we could recommend it. And then what the client would do is they'll go into their bank account and buy the product from Merrill Lynch or JP Morgan or UBS, and then they own that product. But we just help them to design a good strategy. Okay.
Awesome.
So essentially, how these products work are the following, Austin. You select assets. It can be one stock, it can be a fund, it can be an index like the Nasdaq or the S&P 500. We essentially do our research, and we will look at the stocks we believe are going to make money. So it's just the same as you having an advice saying buy this stock, buy that stock. But instead of just buying the stocks and having 100% of the upside, 100% of the downside, we say to the bank, we don't want the upside. So even if they go up 7, 14, or 20%, as was the case with this product with Adidas, Under Armour, and Nike, we don't want that growth. What we want is protection to the downside. And in this case, we said to the bank, we wanted to be protected, even if these stocks were to fall 45% from where they are today. Okay, so it's an exaggerated protection, but for conservative investors, it makes them feel very, very comfortable, because even in the COVID crisis, the market didn't even fall more than 30%. So with a 45% protection to the downside, with good quality companies that have good fundamentals, we feel very comfortable. And then the bank will come back and say, okay, well, based on the protection you want, based on the stocks and the state of the market right now, this is what the bank was offering us. So this was a product that we made just back in August right now, this year. We priced it up. BNP Paribas from France was actually offering the best yield, which was 13.2% a year, even if these stocks were to lose 45% of their value. So our clients basically were getting 1.1% per month, even if these stocks were to go down by 45%. Now,
that's a pretty good insurance plan, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically like an insurance policy. It's a way of not being greedy, but at the end of the day, I mean, with interest rates where they are, if you can get 8, 9, 10%, I mean, that's in the long term, that's what most stock investors will get if they're successful, is a long-term yield of 10%. So if I can do the same thing with a protection of 40 or 50% to the downside of the market, then that's where I want to be. Why? Because if I look at the stock market, it's down 25%. I don't care. I don't have to make decisions about, do I need to buy more? Should I sell it? I don't need to get stressed out because, you know, I've lost 25% of the money I put into something. It's what I call a sleep easy investment. And the great thing about it, particularly if you're retired, is these products can generate a monthly cash income rather than every 6 months, or rather than waiting for 4 or 5 years to basically take profit. So this way you're getting income, your money's protected. And the great thing about it is they're 100% liquid. So you can sell them any day. You buy them today, you can sell them tomorrow. You're not locking yourself in for a 4, 5, 10 year, fixed period or anything like that. And the thing is, these investments, most people don't even know they exist, right? The reaction I get is, that's too good to be true. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Why haven't I never seen this before? These are products that are available, but generally to ultra high net worth clients of private banking. What we did was basically say, the retail investors are getting seriously ripped off. And what I'd love to do is come back on next week and show the cost of banking and all the fees that are built into all the banking services by all the banks. Because that's another thing that we do here, is we eliminate all of those commissions. And that's one of the reasons the yields are so high. Because if you were to buy this product from, let's say, BNP Paribas or JP Morgan or Merrill Lynch, then you would not be getting 13.2%. You get 13.2% in this product because it's not going through a sales director, a sales distribution team. So there's no commissions and fees built into this. We basically going to the source, getting the product launched at the source and giving it to our clients. And to launch a product like this, if you wanted to design your own, it's a minimum requirement of $100,000 to launch your own. However, if the product has already been launched, it's a minimum investment of $1,000 to buy into a product that already exists. So what do? We can design tailor-made products for individual clients who have $100,000. But sometimes a client will say, well, Charles, I've got 30,000, I've got 100,000. I don't want to put it all in one place. I'd like to put it into 5 different products. Okay, we've got 20K per product. What I can do is go and talk to my clients other clients and say if they've got interest in the same product, and we pool everyone together and we launch a product and diversify it around many different investors. So the great thing is it's very accessible. It's extremely transparent. The yields are fantastic. Basically you know exactly what your risk strategy is. You know exactly where you're going to make money. You know exactly when you're not going to make money. I think it's important to mention one thing as well, Austin, which is a big question that comes across, which is what happens if the stocks do go down more than 45%. So this is what we call our protection barrier. So here you've got Adidas at $264 a share when we launched the product, and the bank was paying out dividends even if it went down to 145. But what if it goes down below? Well, if it goes down below, you're going to miss the dividend that month and every month that the stocks are underneath that level. However, every single product we do has a coupon memory feature. And that means that let's imagine that we started this product last year. We went into COVID and the stocks went down by more than 45%, which they didn't, but let's imagine that they did. Well, let's imagine you spent 6 months at negative 45% or worse. And then in the 7th month, those stocks were negative 40%. As soon as they get back up above those barrier levels, all of the missed dividends, if you miss 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dividends, they all get paid up in a lump sum, and then the product continues to pay going forward. So if you don't choose to sell that product early, it's going to run until its final maturity. In this case, it was up for 5 years until 2025. In 2025, as long as all the stocks have not fallen more than 45%, even if they're negative 45%, you still get all your money back, and you'll have made all those dividends all the way along. So, you know, I mean, I've been doing this for years.
Yeah, it sounds way too good to be true.
I mean, I understand it does, but the great thing is it's so transparent, and you know, anyone can check it out. These things come with contracts. There's a contract from the bank which has all of the agreements of all of everything that I'm talking about, where they pay, where they don't pay, what the risk is, how it's protected. So it's, you know, all I say to people, if they like it, then let's talk about it. Answer all the questions, poke all the holes in it you can, because this changed my life. This changed my life as an advisor, and it changed my life personally from an investment point of view. I was spending sometimes 20 hours a day, no joke, like looking at markets, researching stocks, looking at balance sheets, and then they all change. It's constantly changing. It's a labor of love that consumes you nonstop. That's why people burn out so much in Wall Street. And by doing this, it made my life a lot easier. It takes the stress so much out of investing. So I'll give you a couple of other examples here, just for the people watching, Austin. So this was a product that we did. This was back in 2018. So launched in October 2018. At that time, we chose Apple, Alibaba, which is like the Amazon in China, and Advanced Micro Devices. Now, look, we picked pretty good stocks. One of them went up 400%. The other one went up 63%. So it would have been a good stock portfolio. However, Apple was down 39%, but that's kind of irrelevant. And I'll show you why. But on the whole, that was a good stock portfolio. If you'd have bought that stock portfolio, you'd be happy. This product, it had a protection of 30% to the downside. It was BNP Paribas again, and they were offered 16.56% per year in return. So clients were getting 1.38% per month. And that went on 1, 2, 3, 4. It went on and on and on. And then what happened here? Well, in September 2019, on the 30th of September, the product matured. One auto call, that's early maturity. So all of the products have an early maturity opportunity where they automatically kick back all the money. And that is normally if all of the stocks on one of the observation dates after a certain point. So the first observation for an early maturity, and this one was the 3rd month. So on the 3rd month, if all the stocks were at the same price we bought them at or better, you'd have had your 3 dividends, got all your money back, and then you could reinvest or do something else with it. In this case, what happened? Well, one of the stocks was down. It was Apple was down by 27, down by 23, down by 20. It was within the barrier level, so it's kicking out the dividends, but it wasn't maturing early. And it went on and on and on. And then you see here, as soon as it became positive in September 2019, client got all their money back early, and then what do we say? We say, okay, should we do that one again? Does it make sense? Have one of the stocks gone up too much? In this case, yes, we didn't want to do the product again because one of the stocks has gone up 400%. Now that's not looking like a good investment, a good component anymore. That's definitely one out of the way, overvalued. We don't want to touch it, so let's put the money somewhere else. So yeah, I'll show a couple of others just to show some more diversification.
Well, yeah, we're kind of getting a little lengthy here, but I think it's good. I know
I can talk all day about this.
I know you love what you do, and that's what's great. I have to mention that. I've known Charles. Charles has been in my magazine, my most recent edition of the Restaurant and Travel magazine. Had a great article in there. I get so much great feedback, and people just say, man, I really love the information that was presented. Same thing on the show. So we love having you on. And of course, anybody that's out there listening, if you want to get in touch with Charles, you can go right up here in the text of this post or on this video. There's a link to set up an appointment with Charles. Or, of course, you can just email me, austin@dopanama.com. I can connect you with Charles right away. And don't forget, if you're interested in relocating to Panama, we do have the Do Panama relocation program. We do have our sponsored Inside Panama relocation ebook, which is free. There's a brand new edition of that coming out tomorrow. So even if you emailed us 2 months ago when we started the show, you're going to be getting that updated ebook here this week. And if you'd like to get, if it's maybe your first time watching the show, you want to get that ebook, please email free ebook at ipreinfo.com. And guys, we're here to help. Charles, any last words before we take off for the weekend?
Well, I'd like to wish everyone a great weekend. Hope everyone had a great Christmas and New Year. And if anyone wants to talk to me and ask any questions, I'm always available to help anyone. No obligation. If I can help where I can, I'm more than happy to share my knowledge and information with anyone who wants to listen.
Well, and I love it, bro. I really do. You're super passionate about helping people. Like I said, I've gotten nothing but top high recommendations about people that either read your article or they contact you through the show, and they're just thanking me. Man, thanks for having this guy on. He's full of information, and he really, really wants to help people to financial dependence, independence.
Well, let's do this next week, Austin. If you've got space for me, I can give some examples about the hidden fees in banking and the cost of banking and how people can eliminate those.
I love it. Absolutely. So we will be having Charles on next week, guys. We also have a Grammy nominee coming on next week who we've been helping out come to Panama. Cool story. You're not going to want to miss that. Again, that's next weekend on the Sunday Spin, every Sunday here at 3 p.m. Panama time. And remember, guys, if you have any questions about any elements of the show, you have any suggestions, please email me, austin@dopanama.com. And guys, really, really appreciate it if you could share this video, give us some love, give us some likes, tell your friends about it. We're all about helping people move to this gorgeous, beautiful country. I'm looking out the window. It is definitely super sunny out there. Going to go play some soccer with my son. Enjoy the park right outside. So have a beautiful Sunday afternoon, guys. Until next Sunday, ciao.